If you can imagine it, technology can create it. It entertains, heals, connects, and protects. It greets us in the morning and guides us home at night. It can make our dreams a reality and can make reality feel like our wildest dreams. Technology completely changes how we see the world, each other, and the future. With tech by our side, we have the potential to solve the world's greatest challenges. Food security, access to healthcare, sustainability, and environmental impact. The more critical the issues, the more critical the need for problem-solving tech, especially as part of our pursuit of human security for all. So, as we move forward together, we do so surrounded by the world's greatest technological advancements all in one place. More than ever, CES 2024 is the celebration of all that tech has to offer humanity. There's positive energy in the air. We move forward with both hope and confidence because we're creating solutions in a global effort to make the world a better place. We're all on for powerful connections, joyful experiences, new opportunities, and everything that tech makes possible. Right here, right now. We're all together. We're all in and all on.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Senior Vice President of CES and Membership for the Consumer Technology Association, Kinsey Fabrizio.
Thank you, and good afternoon. We are thrilled to have two exciting keynotes this afternoon, Qualcomm and Nasdaq. Most of us spend hours a day online and rely on our smartphones, tablets, laptops, and a host of other devices to stay connected and informed. We're also entering the age of generative AI with new tools to discover customized information and content tailored for our preferences. Cristiano Amon is the president and CEO of Qualcomm and a member of the Qualcomm Board of Directors. In a career with Qualcomm spanning over 25 years, he has shaped the company's strategic direction, spearheading Qualcomm's 5G strategy and global rollout. Cristiano led the company's strategic expansion into new industries like automotive. And under his leadership, Qualcomm is leading the way in on-device generative AI, transforming how we engage with the technology around us. He'll be joined in conversation today by Fox Business anchor and host of the Claman Countdown, a CES favorite, Liz Claman. Liz joined Fox Business when the network was launched in 2007. Today, Fox Business is the #1 cable network in prime time. Liz has interviewed a wide range of industry leaders on her Emmy Award-winning show, including interviews with every U.S. Treasury Secretary in recent history and the world's top business leaders, entrepreneurs, and newsmakers. Please join me in welcoming Cristiano and Liz to the stage.
Wow, this is a big, big audience here. So, Cristiano, the pressure's on.
Yes,
First of all, welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for being here. We are going to be talking, obviously, about all of the news that you have made so far, but I am going to pry open, or at least force you to pry open, your playbook when it comes to everything that you're doing with generative AI and how it actually integrates naturally between people and the users in this room and everywhere else potentially and their devices. So let's start with this, because I know it's a little cold and early to be talking baseball. But where, Cristiano, are we, in your opinion, in which inning, perhaps, which baseball inning, to really say this new generative AI, what is taking off like wildfire? Which inning are we in?
All right, very good. It's a good question. I think we're in the first one heading towards the second. I think there's an incredible amount of potential, a lot of things that's going to happen. Our job, and we have been very passionate about the role of AI in the devices that we carry, whether it's your phone, your PC, the device that is not in the data center, the car, industrial devices. We've been talking about on-device AI before it was popular. And I think our job was to create a computing engine that is going to make that technology to run pervasively. And I think what we see right now, we are at a point that those capabilities in the processors and the semiconductors are becoming available. The next step will be the development of the use cases and the applications. And it's good because we're starting to see those things coming to life, whether in phones, in computers, the Microsoft Copilot is a good example, and in the car as well.
I want you to bring us back to November of 2022, and I know a lot of you guys know what was happening back then, and that is that Sam Altman and the OpenAI merry band of brothers and freakazoids up in Silicon Valley, it's okay, I'm from California, I can say that, they had unleashed the chatbot, ChatGPT, on the world, and it took off like absolute wildfire. I need to know how Qualcomm went into hyperspeed at that moment to start packing in generative AI into the chips when it was really quite a relatively new technology.
Yes, that's a good question, and maybe allow me to tell a little bit of a story. I think the company DNA is, because where we live, like we're not in the data center today. Where we live today
Hold on one second. We're going to have you use that microphone.
All right, is it better now?
Yep, better.
Okay, so where we live is really, it's outside the data center, is in devices that we carry, the battery-powered devices. And the company DNA is really about how to do high-performance computing at a very low power. So about a decade ago, and we've understood that the next form of computing, you have CPUs, you have graphical processor units, but you also going to have the next form of computing, which is accelerated computing for AI, is going to happen everywhere. And we've been busy developing the technology that allow you to do that without compromising battery life. For example, if you have something else doing on your phone, you still wanted the thing to last the whole day. So when ChatGPT came out with those large language models, and it was really incredible, one of the fastest adoption of any platform in history, and one of the things that it did, anybody in the streets know about Gen AI and ChatGPT.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, we saw the intersection point when the company's interest in AI said, we can run this on the devices, on this engine that Qualcomm has built. And that's why, for example, we have now in phones, in PCs, some of the platforms that has the fastest AI engine in all the devices, and that capability is available with you. You don't have, it complements the data center, and I think that's the opportunity for us.
Well, yeah, taking it from the cloud, which is where it is primarily, down to the device itself. And that brings us to all the users and potential users out there. We have a video from Qualcomm that we're going to run. And what I want you to do is talk about how you plan to integrate, and how you already are integrating that kind of thing right directly into the device chips.
Absolutely. So the interesting thing, Liz, is the AI is going to develop different from the cloud and the devices, and hopefully that's what this video is going to show. You're going to have the AI available in the cloud, and I think you can do a ChatGPT query like you have been doing, and people have been experimenting with different things. But on the device, the AI is just running pervasively. So as you can see some of those use cases, think of something as simple as you use your phone every day, and you text, like you and I can text each other. Everything that you type, and that data stays in your phone, everything that you type could be a query for the AI. AI is thinking, is there something for me? Is there something? Yes, there's something for me. This is talking about we should get together, we should have a meeting. This is the availability. Do you want to send a meeting invite? Or you're talking about some place that you went, the AI will bring the photos and say, do you want to share that? Or you're going to say, I've seen this data, or I saw a video, the AI will say, that was the video, and it's going to be this assistant with you that's running pervasively. And I think another example of that is what we're doing with Microsoft. We built this engine when we announced X Elite has the fastest AI engine of any device that go into a laptop. And now you have the ability to run those very large language models into the device. We can do, models that have billions of parameters running the device, and you get an instant response right there.
Okay, so if I'm hearing this correctly, and I think I am, it will look at your device, it'll see all the pictures, it'll see how you've written things in the past, how you've communicated with people, who you've dialed, et cetera, and it continues to generate and grow and learn?
Yes. What is now very unique, and I want to tell you about the vision that we have and what is possible, and we're already heading towards the second inning that's happening. The way we thought about computing platforms and how you interact, let's just take the smartphone as an example. You have the computing engine, that's kind of what we do, that's a Snapdragon, then you have an OS, and then on top of that OS, you have applications, and then you, as the human, go in and touch one app and another app.
There's a lot of touching, there's a lot of inputting passwords.
And you start an app, and you take an information from one app to the other app. Now, think about now something else happening. There is now this AI engine that is running and trying to do one job, predict your every movement and try to learn from you. It's the same thing when you take that same example to some of the things we're doing on the car. Let's say, for example, you leave your office, and what you do every time when you leave your office, maybe you call somebody from your family. So the car is going to know, time to call somebody from your family. They wanted me to call it for you, because they already learned from you. And I think that's what we're going to see, a change in user experience. You're going to have this assistant that is going to be there with you, is going to learn from your behavior. And that's what's unique about doing AI on the devices. When you do a query on the cloud, you provide some information, the cloud doesn't know you and give you an answer. But when you provide the cloud and the device working together, the device has real context. Where are you? Who are you? What is the relevance of that information? I think that's what makes it all this very exciting and transformative.
Exciting and a little nerve-wracking. There's a whole different conversation about the privacy aspect, et cetera, and where...
Stays in your phone.
I think that is really certainly interesting, where you not cut out the cloud, but you certainly bring it down to the device. Let me just stick with this. You had mentioned Microsoft when you were just discussing that issue. Keeping it with the smartphone, which has been your bailiwick for so many decades. Let's talk about OEMs. Are you in conversations with OEMs? Which ones? Who are we working with? I mean, is it Apple? Is it Samsung? Is it Huawei? Xiaomi?
So the AI capabilities is really happening on our processor, and it's really happening on the Android ecosystem, where we provide the Snapdragon processing platform. You know, the chip that we actually got an award here to show, the HN3, which is, it has one of the fastest engines for AI in mobile, like something like Stable Diffusion, which you provide a query-generated image, we can do in 0.6 seconds as an example. It used to take 10, 15 seconds on a PC. We've seen a lot of the phone OEMs preparing the use cases. So a couple things to watch. As this device is launching, we have upcoming device from Samsung, and there's been a lot of conversations between us and Samsung, us and Google. You see Google talking about some of those new use cases on Android. So I think there's going to be the beginning of having those incredible AI use cases coming in those new devices launching in 24. We also saw other customers, companies like in China, Xiaomi and Vivo and Oppo, etc., already announcing AI use cases. And we're just at the beginning. We see cases with photography, we see with texting, we see with translation, but there's going to be much more.
Okay, so let me just keep it on China for a second. How limiting is it for the U.S. government's regulations that they've put into place for some specific chips when it comes to what you guys are trying to explode out into the world?
Right now, we're not impacted. Like I said, we're not in the data center. I think we have been really focused on phones, PCs, car, industrial. And to this point, I think we have a vibrant business globally on those products.
Let's get to laptops. How does Qualcomm specifically envision generative AI? Forget envision. What are you doing right this second with laptops?
One thing that is really exciting for Qualcomm, and this one, I'm going to say Gen AI is actually a tailwind. right? We put ourselves in a mission in a partnership with Microsoft to build next generation PCs. Think about the conversions between mobile and PC. Think about what users want of their PC. They want more mobility. They want a device that is faster. It has more battery life. And that was the mission on Snapdragon X Elite, including us developing our own CPU, which is the Orion CPU. And we were on a mission to build the fastest processor for any PC. That was the role of X Elite, and we delivered. We announced that last year at the Tech Summit, and the performance was incredible, actually exceeded our expectations, because on the CPU alone, it was faster than anything out there of any processor for any laptop. But the good thing is, that happened at the same time that Gen AI is coming to the devices. And I think that's an incredible tailwind, because if you think about the Copilot, we can run the Copilot into the device. The device has an incredible performance separate on AI. We talk about 75 TOPS, tera operations per second of AI computation. And you can run those things across every app. So I think as Windows change to an AI and a Copilot experience, X Elite is the platform that is going to take that next generation Windows experience to consumers, and that's a growth opportunity for Qualcomm.
The challenges that your engineers face. Okay, I've been in San Diego at Qualcomm's headquarters, and you guys have lots of really smart people fanning out. But bringing it back to when ChatGPT came out, I mean, what were the conversations about, guys, we got to get on this, we've got to hammer more transistors onto each tiny silicon chip. What challenges did they face in getting up to hyperspeed?
It was a combination of two things. The first reaction was, wow, finally, this engine that we built, we have an incredible application for it, and we were in the right track. The second thing is...
Were you ahead?
Yes, because I think it was very innovative to build that type of computation to a device that was battery powered, not in the cloud. The second reaction is, how do we get those models ported into the device as fast as we can possibly can? It has been the last quarter a mad rush. Just to give you a perspective, you talk about ChatGPT, and there are a number of models, also open source models. There's Llama from Meta. Right now, we have over 40 different models ported into the Snapdragon, and I think that's been incredible amount of work over the past 3 months to get this ready, so applications can come to life in new products launching this year.
You referenced cars. We just came from the West Hall. I don't know if you guys have been over there, but it's basically the Detroit Auto Show on steroids. The CES show has become the auto show. It's a de facto auto show at this point, and it's fascinating to see, because I can remember being here many years ago. This is my, 17th year, and Alan Mulally of Ford was the first auto CEO to be invited, and he stood outside. They had a car outside, it wasn't even inside, and they were talking about sync, which back then was sort of that first get in the car, oh, it knows it's your phone, and here we go. We've come so far from there. Let's talk about the digital cockpit. And when you think about consumer electronics, the car is the most expensive one most of us have.
Yes. Look, I love talking about cars, and I think CES, to a great extent, it's a car show, among other things. And I can spend a lot of time talking about it, because there's fundamentally one thing that is different now. And I think I look at that as the foundation of many of the things we're doing with the Snapdragon digital cockpit and some of the rapid success we had in automotive. The car is a new computing space. That's probably the best way I can describe it. You have your phone, and the phone, you do a lot of things. It's an inseparable device. You have your laptop. Laptops didn't go anywhere. They continue to exist. They will continue to exist. Even some cases you have your desktop's still there, it didn't get replaced by the laptop. But now you also have the car. The car is a computing platform. If you look what people are doing in their cars and why we see those immersive screens that we're enabling a digital cockpit, you're getting entertained in your car, you have productivity in your car, you're communicating with people in the car, so it became a new computing space. And so much so that you see many companies, one of their applications and services going into the, I need to be in the Windows PC, I need to be in the phone. You see they're going to the car. Like a great example, we had a great partnership. We have a number of examples at the show with Salesforce, that Salesforce embedded into the Snapdragon digital cockpit, so you can do CRM from the car. You can schedule different things for the car. We have insurance companies want to embed their services into the car. You have distribution of television content, so gaming. So the car is a new computing space, and that is a revolution. That's created a huge opportunity for the car companies, and Qualcomm role is to provide that digital engine.
I have never seen the car people here at CES so excited. We just talked to Dimitri Salakis of Mercedes. He was vibrating. I mean, he was so thrilled, and I know it wasn't because he was just getting interviewed by me, but I thought it was really fascinating to see how the sort of levitation of all that is going on in the car now technologically, but the generative AI aspect of it takes it to a whole new level, does it not?
Absolutely. Look, we talk about it in some of the videos I think we show, talk about the Gen AI providing some experience in the phone. In the car, it's a little different. Mm-hmm. One thing that you look at those large language models, I personally think the car is an incredible use case of how we can use voice. Because when you are behind the wheel, voice and visualization become very, very important ways for you to communicate with the car. And what Gen AI is doing with the car right now is actually creating an opportunity that you actually have a conversation with your car. So we have a demo, you know, the concept car that you were there in San Diego when we first unveiled that car. Yeah. We have a demo, and the demo shows with something that we call, you know, the intelligence service manual in the car. So a light blink up. You ask the car, what is this light? Why is it blinking? So the car, you know, think about a ChatGPT know the information from the car maker will tell you, this is what it is. This is the reason this light is on. This is what's causing it. Here's how you're going to repair it. And then we even ask you, do you want me to schedule a repair for you? And using Salesforce, integrating with some of the dealership will say, those are the slot available. The same thing, you can ask your car to plan things for you. It's like a large language model. It's like doing a chat query, but you're now chatting your car. And we're going to get to the point fairly, fairly soon that things that used to be one of my favorite shows in the 80s, Knight Rider, that you can talk to your car. I think that's possible right now. And it's just as those things continue to develop.
Yeah, it's definitely happening. In fact, one of the things that we saw with Mercedes was it has synced the music to the way the car drives. So if you have your favorite song on, let's just say the Eagles' Life in the Fast Lane, it will speed up a little bit when the music's faster and then slow down. Of course, it must know that there's somebody in front of you so it doesn't just hit it. But, you know, it's really the future is now, and it's happening at light speed, which I think is truly fascinating. I need to know what scares you. What scares you about all of this development? There's an arms race. People are running over each other to try and beat the other guy in developing this stuff. What's the cost that you worry about?
Look, let me maybe give you a Qualcomm answer. For us, this is exciting because I will say in this space, we are the underdog, right? This is all growth opportunity for Qualcomm. I think you said it correctly. I think we have been well known for what we have done and continue to do in the mobile industry. But we're really changing the company from a wireless communication company to a connected processor and artificial intelligence company. So for us, this is all new growth opportunities. And I think it started to show based on inroads we made in automotive, the inroads we're making in the PC. And what is good for Qualcomm is our mobile DNA, because our mobile DNA, the mobile creates a very difficult engineering environment. If you're designing chips, the mobile give you a couple constraints. The size is very small. The battery is small. It has to last the whole day. It can't be hot because you're going to touch your face. And you need to increase generation of a generation the computing power. And when we take this to other industries, I think it gives us an advantage. So we're actually excited about the opportunity.
Let's talk about how Qualcomm envisions that relationship between AI and augmented and virtual reality. The headsets are a big topic of conversation and a big trend here on the floor at CES. What are the possibilities? We talked to HTC Vive, and they're already moving into big enterprise usage of their headset. And I just thought it was really interesting. Firefighters are training with them. You can feel the heat. They have sensors on you, so you can be pushed back by fire when you're training versus actually having to burn down a whole building. If you know anything about firefighting, they have to subject themselves to that. That's a $300,000 set that they have to build and then burn down. What do you envision there, both for the consumer and for the enterprise opportunity?
Yes, spatial computing, it's going to be another computing platform that is going to eventually get a lot of scale. And those devices that we have been helping build, they're becoming more affordable, they're becoming smaller, they're becoming more capable. And the simple thing, I think we use this way to describe it, which is how do you merge the physical world and the virtual world together? And it's going to have a number of applications. For example, I like what you said about enterprise. We're starting to see now, you started with consumers. We have great partner into Meta with their Quest devices. You see a lot of consumer gaming, but now you see some of the use cases in enterprise, how you train people, how do you enable you to be fully immersed into that digital environment, how are you going to evolve communications? The communication that we have been, we started talking on the phone like this, then we're texting each other, then we learn to hold and have a video call. It's going to be a hologram as you think about into the future, because you're just going to use those augmented reality glasses and mixed reality. So that's a huge potential. We have been partnering with virtually every company right now. You see what Meta is doing. Google, Samsung is coming next. Sony announced a device. I think Lenovo is building enterprise devices for some of the enterprise customers. We're HTC Vive. You saw some of the use cases. I think there's great opportunities, just a matter of time.
Is your phone ringing off the hook with all of these guys calling you up and saying, quick, make a chip for this?
We're very fortunate, I think, to have a number of partners. I'll tell you right now, I'm so glad. The phone was off the hook when we had the supply shortage. Right now, I'm so glad that that's behind us. And we're
totally
just thinking
behind you? You don't see any shortage anymore?
100% behind us right now. I've been careful, I think, when I say, but, the phone market right now, I think it's getting back to normalization, and we're excited about the growth that's starting to show in all those different vectors.
What you just articulated to me brings up this question as we finish up, Cristiano. Will AI eventually create a way, whether it's through holograms or something entirely different that we haven't even envisioned in this room yet, will it eventually kill the smartphone?
I don't think so. I think what is happening, and that's a big topic of conversation. I wish we had more time.
We do. We got 44 seconds.
Yeah.
No, we keep going.
What AI is doing is really merging the smartphone in the cloud, and it's changing how you think about the computing platform. I'll give you an example. Many people use different ways to describe it. They talk about disaggregation, but I think the way to describe it is, let's say that the AI knows that based on your calendar, based on the fact that you drop your car at service and you need to go somewhere, the AI know that needs to call an Uber for you. And the AI will say, Liz, do you want me to call an Uber for you? I already know from this place at that time to that other time. And they're going to say yes. Well, at that time, the AI could do one of two things. It could go to the Uber app in your phone and call an Uber for you. Or it could just go to Uber straight into the cloud and call Uber for you. It doesn't matter. So what's going to happen now, the phone is going to have a different role. Not only is going to be like what used to do, which is the phone is good for all the apps that you have on your phone, but also the phone's going to be communicating with the apps in the cloud, so it's going to have a big augmentation. So the phone is not going anywhere, but it's going to get enhanced by AI. It's going to get enhanced by the glasses you're going to use it, the same way that it's got enhanced by the watch that you use it, and it's going to get enhanced by what you're going to be doing on the PC.
Cristiano, Amon of Qualcomm, we thank you. We wanted to pull all this out of you, and you've done it in a very short period of time for an audience that is incredibly motivated to hear exactly what you foresee in the future for Qualcomm and everything it can do for Gen AI. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Liz.
Terrific stuff. Thank you so much.
Oh, that was so great. Thank you, Cristiano and Liz. Our next guest is at the forefront of efforts to reshape how the financial world works and ensuring more people can have access to it. Adena Friedman, Chair and CEO of Nasdaq, has led the company as CEO since 2017. Under Adena's leadership, the company has built on its foundation as the leading exchange for the world's most innovative companies, embracing the power of technology to solve big global challenges and power economic progress for all. Bringing decades of experience in the financial world, Adena will share her perspectives on what's ahead. Where is the financial world headed in 2024? How are AI and other emerging technologies reshaping our markets and our broader economy? And what technology tools can we leverage to combat financial crime? Adena is joined by Ed Ludlow, co-host of Bloomberg Technology, the only daily news show that is focused exclusively on tech and innovation. Ed is also a correspondent for Bloomberg News, reporting and writing on tech, supply chain deals, and finance. Before they join us on stage, let's take a look at Nasdaq's campaign to end financial crime.
Financial crime is a multi-trillion-dollar industry. It is often misunderstood as schemes played out in ledgers and spreadsheets. Transactional, clinical, distant. But nothing could be further from the truth. Because it underpins many of society's most insidious crimes: human trafficking, elder financial abuse, terrorist financing, scams that exploit the most vulnerable in our society. It's a deeply human problem, and the time for action is now. The technology and tools to eradicate financial crime already exist, but we need collective action to outpace the criminals. That means taking a whole-of-industry approach, embracing innovation, leveraging the power of data, and bringing all stakeholders on board to ensure we can better protect the global financial system and the people and communities that it serves.
Please join me in welcoming Nasdaq Chair and CEO Adena Friedman and Bloomberg Technology co-host Ed Ludlow.
So powerful was that message on financial crime. It shook the stage.
It did. I felt it too.
Adena Friedman, good afternoon.
It's great to be here.
It's great to be here with you. I think that when I think about NASDAQ, it's in the context of an exchange, right? And I think I'm right in saying that in 2023, you beat out the NYSE for a fifth year in the IPO battle. But that video makes the point that the NASDAQ is more than an exchange. So let's start there. What is NASDAQ, or the company NASDAQ?
Great, thank you. Well, today we are a technology company that serves the global financial system. And we are extremely proud of our foundation as being what we think is the world-leading exchange. But when we think about how we've been able to grow and expand our business, we've taken our foundation and we've said, okay, well, what is the foundation of exchange? We provide liquidity, transparency, and integrity that allow investors to access capital, allow them to experience it, and grow their savings. And over time, we've said, well, we have these great relationships across corporates who are accessing the markets, investors who are investing in them, broker-dealers and banks who are using the markets, and then also other exchanges. So we've expanded our technology across those three key pillars. liquidity. So we provide, obviously, market technology to 130 other exchanges around the world today. And now, more recently, we now can provide key risk management and operating technology for banks and brokers to manage their liquidity in the system. And then we also, in transparency, have key services we offer corporates and investors, including index products that we'll probably talk about, that really help investors access the markets more effectively. And then we have our integrity suite, which is our anti-financial crime suite and our regulatory technology suite. So that's where we've really, really leveraged a lot of the modern technologies that we'll talk about today to make sure that we can create more integrity in the system.
In the time we have, we're going to basically talk about 2024, but in many different ways. The financial crime component is interesting. In this room at CES, the 130,000 or so of us, those streaming the webcast, they might have thought about this in the context of their cybersecurity protection and spend, especially if you're a technology company. But you are very focused on financial crime from a technology perspective. Explain why Nasdaq thinks it should have a role in that.
Well, I think that this issue of integrity and trust is the foundation and cornerstone of the capital markets. It's the foundation and cornerstone of the financial system. And the 130,000 people here who are here to listen about the next generation of technology, I want them to understand that we have great technologists working with AI, working with the most advanced technology available to keep that system safe and to keep it high integrity. And you're right, cyber plays a role in that. But what we do is we provide the banks with technology that takes all of the data across, it's actually about $4 trillion worth of assets from 2,500 banks. We look at every transaction that they have through their systems, and we pool that data together. And we're therefore able to use very advanced AI algorithms to root out specific behaviors in the markets, or I'm sorry, in the banking system, and in the markets, actually, because we use it also for our surveillance technology. The thing to think about is someone who is perpetrating crime in terms of, let's say, child trafficking versus terrorism versus elder abuse and fraud, they do different things. They use the financial system differently. They behave differently. What we've been able to do is try to capture those very specific behaviors and then write AI models on that to predict what could be coming. So be able to look at, based on these patterns and practices, could this be criminal activity? And then give that information over to the banks and give them very efficient workflows to help them do all the research they need to determine if it is in fact criminal. And then they report that to the regulators through our platform as well.
Have you invested in this technology, and are you taking action into 2024 on this because the threats have increased?
Well, we are definitely investing in the technology in a very significant way. It's also our fastest growing business. So the business is growing close to 20% year on year. And I think that what we're really excited about is this next generation of AI, because what we've been able to take right now is we use Bayesian models, computer vision, and other elements of algorithmic AI to basically try to predict behaviors. But now with also the ability to basically take language and structure it into AI algorithms that allow us, therefore, to even look even deeper into criminal behaviors, to do research faster, speed up the workflows for the banks so that they can spend less effort and be more effective and efficient in finding the real criminals in the system and rooting them out. So we are investing heavily in this business. It is a huge pillar of our growth, but it's also an important part of our responsibility to the financial system. So we're very excited about it.
Is this just happening in the United States, or is it something you're doing in jurisdiction and markets around the world?
Well, so we've had a very global footprint across all of the trade surveillance that we do. So when we help broker-dealers and exchanges and regulators manage that look into those behaviors in the markets and in their trading rooms. But now with anti-financial crime, we basically bought a company called Verafin about 3 years ago. We've integrated them into Nasdaq. They've historically been North American based, but we're working with them, number one, to bring them up market to the largest banks, the global banks, and also bring them across the pond and start to deploy that technology outside the United States. So we're very, very excited to be a global provider here. We have a lot of experience being a global provider of market technology, surveillance technology. So this is just the next leg of our growth.
There's a lot to fit in the brief session we have, but I always like to bring a bit of breaking news. Breaking news, if you haven't been paying attention for the last 2 hours, the SEC has approved Bitcoin spot ETFs.
Yes, they
Nasdaq
have.
will be one of a small applause in the room, because I think finally some movement on that, official movement, we should say, after what happened 24 hours ago. Nasdaq is one of several exchanges that will list the products. But what does it mean for your business? What is your response? Is it relief, like many out there on social media in the last hour?
Well, I think that it is a reflection of the fact that the crypto industry, and particularly around Bitcoin, has matured. And so that there is now a new opportunity for investors to invest in the trends that cryptocurrencies start to introduce, obviously specifically to Bitcoin. I also think that it's what's great about the ETF wrapper is that it's highly liquid, it's in a highly regulated market environment, so you can invest in the sentiment around it without having to invest in the underlying. And I also think that it just opens the door for more accessibility for that particular asset class. So we're very excited to partner with Valkyrie and BlackRock to bring those products to market. And they've been great partners to us, and we really look forward to being a partner to them as they're bringing those products into the market.
You used the word trend, and at one point Nasdaq was looking at a role as a crypto custodian and kind of pulled back. Does this signal for your business that you might go deeper into crypto as an asset class?
Well, I think that one of the things that we have to recognize is that the regulatory landscape continues to be an evolving landscape in the crypto industry. And so this is a first step for the SEC to take this step. We'll have to see what other steps they choose to take. But I think that right now we have so many opportunities for us to grow and expand our business in terms of providing critical risk management technology, regulatory reporting technology, and anti-financial crime technology, that actually, honestly, all of that will be relevant as this industry also expands.
We may look back at CES 2025 and say, oh, Bitcoin spot ETF was one of these stories of the year, but it's the second week of January. We can just tick it off and move on now, thankfully. But you are very focused on 2024. There are a few people in my world, at least, and I think in yours, that you can put on the spot and ask to be a crystal ball.
Oh, yes.
But you're one of few people that's prepared to do that. So from a market perspective in 2024, what do you see this year across capital markets?
Well, I think that we probably would qualify 2024, we're probably cautiously optimistic.
Okay.
I think that we have to look at the cautiously part because it is a very complex world. And it's interesting, over the last 3 or 4 years, I think every CEO has been sitting there saying, well, when is the world going to return to quote unquote normal?
And you mean pre-pandemic, or most people mean pre-pandemic?
Or just, global, and, it was less complicated 4 years ago. So, if you think about the geopolitical environment, you think about the economic environment, you look at, just different shocks to the system, whether it's supply chain shocks that are obviously COVID related, the regionalization of the economy, I would say. All of those things are big changes that are happening. And one of the things we talk about is just you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Okay. As an investor or as a market participant?
As an investor, as a company, as a consumer, as someone who's trying to manage their life in the economy. So,
CES 2024, get ready to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
So, and also in terms of technological innovation too. So it's just happening so fast. But if we think about those complexities, I think that one of the optimistic part comes from what are the underpinnings of the economy.
Yes.
And what we've seen is that the U.S. economy has remained, I would say, more resilient than people expected. But at the same time, we're seeing inflation decline, which is important.
Because of rates.
Yeah, potential for rate moves, that the Fed to take some action this year to bring rates down to what I would call a normalized level, which means there will be a real cost of capital, but it won't be as high as where it is today. And so companies that have invested in resilience, being able to manage through all of these shocks, being able to manage to a very dynamic economic environment from a financial perspective, operational efficiency, manufacturing, whatever it is, but then also embracing technology. Companies that are leaning into the technological trends around cloud and AI, they will gain an advantage much faster because they'll be able to be more efficient, more effective, and more productive internally, just on their operations. And then they'll be able to bring what I think is very differentiated products out to their clients. So the pace of change is going to quicken. The winners and losers are going to widen.
When you say embrace, sorry to interrupt, you also may mean deploy capital.
Absolutely.
Invest in.
Invest in. So you have to take those conviction decisions and make those investments. And those that have been doing that, at the same time that they've been driving to a financially resilient state, they're going to be rewarded. They'll be rewarded in the markets. Companies that are private and are looking to tap the public markets, if they are in that position, they'll be rewarded by investors. I do think investors will be more ready to put risk capital to work this year because some of those economic unknowns are becoming more known. And if you look at the companies that went public in 2023, they performed pretty well. So I think it's giving investors a little bit of a ballast to say, it's time for us to put some risk capital to work. So we're cautiously optimistic we'll have a much more vibrant IPO environment this year.
The thing about CES is CES stands for Consumer Electronics Show. I don't mean to be flippant. I remind myself of that because there's a lot of corporate announcements. There are lots of big companies that come and do big announcements. But actually, the best thing I've done this week is just stick my headphones in and walk the showroom floors and just look at everything. And you have businesses great and small. You have the CEOs of tech companies listening to you now. You have founders of tiny startups. The bankers are here, trust me. There are government officials here. From a technology perspective, sum that up for 2024 through the financial markets, from not necessarily how existing public companies might trade, but the interest in the technology sector broadly.
Yeah, well, first of all, one of the great things about CES is you can go on the floor and get inspired. You know, when I walk the floor of CES, you see all these incredible innovations. And you're right, they can be from very large companies, and then there's some really great small entrepreneurial innovators that are coming and showcasing what they've created. So it's inspiring, but it also allows you to think like creatively, oh, wow, how could I use that, apply that technology? It might be a healthcare innovation, but at the same time, what does that mean in terms of how we might be able to leverage that same kind of underpinning of technology and bring it to the financial markets or bringing it into our software businesses? So I have to say, I do find CES as a very inspirational place to be at the beginning of the year. It really kind of sets the stage for what technology is going to bring. And then when we look at it and say, well, what does that mean for markets? I think that the first thing is we do work and we partner with CTA, which is the sponsor of CES or the creator of CES. And we have certain index products that we've launched and made available to investors that allow them to invest in the trends that we're seeing here around AI, cloud, cyber. You know, we have very specific thematic indexes we've created with them so that investors can state an opinion about the future of technology without having to pick the winners and losers. So they can get inspired here and say, gosh, I really believe that AI really is, this is the year of execution for AI, and there are ways to leverage those index products to invest in them. So that's an exciting thing that we do, is we use this type of forum to really get some really creative ideas around our index business and partner with CTA and others to make products that are investable. And then the second thing is, I think that even though, you know, Nasdaq itself has not been, we're not a consumer company directly, but our products impact billions of consumers. Billions, you know, whether
because
it's
they
our
impact
data
the
product.
fortunes of those companies listed on them?
Well, or they certainly do that, but also, you know, all this technology that we're seeing is going to come into the financial markets just like it would come into any other industry. And our industry, we provide data and index products and analytics that serve billions of investors around the world. The technology we serve to other exchanges around the world serve as the foundation for every economy. So it's actually really, really important that we understand how this technology can be applied in the markets. So we have, like, for instance, our first AI, SEC-approved AI order type that we're going to be launching this quarter. Last year, I announced it here, by the way, that we were filing it with the SEC, and now we've actually gotten approval, so we're launching it this quarter. And at the same time, we're leveraging this Gen AI really to help figure out how can we make our workflow solutions a lot more efficient and effective for our customers.
I want to go pretty deep on you and generative AI, Adena Friedman, but I think the final outlook question, and it's based on the thesis you kind of outlined, is the IPO market. I remember that brief period of September where the IPO market was back. Bloomberg Technology every day. It was so brief. I was so excited every day. I wake up, which IPO will we have today on Bloomberg Technology? And then it went. So what's going to happen in 2024, particularly for some of the kind of what are now very, very late growth stage technology companies?
Yeah, I think it's important to recognize that what investors are looking for is obviously either cash flow positive or a very clear path to cash flow positive, because that's financial resilience.
Yes.
Then they're
the bar's
looking
been
for,
raised at that point, even
very
towards
much
profitability.
So. Yeah, and especially with a cost of capital that's currently elevated, And even when it normalizes, there will be a cost of capital. So knowing that companies are investing responsibly, but also managing their business towards positive cash flow is going to be important, because if you think about it as an investor, if there's a high cost of capital and the company is not profitable, it means at some point they're going to need more capital, and they're going to come to the equities markets or the debt markets to get it, and they're going to pay a lot for it, right?
Yes.
So then investors are either going to pay for it because they'll be diluted, or they'll pay for it through just lower earnings from interest, right? So at the end of the day, a lower cost of capital, good for investors.
But what was hard to reconcile, though, in September was there seemed to be like a lot of investor demand at first, and the trading of those companies that went public in the days that followed would counter that. But there was clearly caution from the companies.
But it was interesting, though. First of all, I would point out that companies that did go public in 2023, in the aggregate, have actually performed quite well. So you can't just look at the week after. You have to look at 30, 60, 90 days after. And actually, in the aggregate, the companies have actually performed well. So investors who did take the risk have been largely rewarded, depending on what the company. But in general, in the aggregate, they've been rewarded. I think that in general, though, what I'm trying to say about 24 is you've got companies that are late growth stage, that have managed their businesses well, that are embracing technology in their operations and in their products, are going to be ones that investors are very, very excited to invest in. And I think that you're going to see there's some great companies looking to get out. There's also companies in the biotech space that are leveraging amazing technologies to bring new therapeutics, new treatments, new devices to market. And those also, I think that's really an area of excitement this year. So I actually think, and AI in general could impact every industry. So companies that can demonstrate that this is something that could create a sustainable differentiation for themselves will also be rewarded. So I have to say, I said I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm very excited about Nasdaq and what we're going to do with AI this year. We want to turn our entire company into a company of innovators, and try to make sure we're leveraging it. We call it on the business and in the product, right? So how do we bring it onto our business and make our business more efficient and effective? How do we bring it into the products and make our clients be more efficient and effective?
Well, let's go back to basics for a minute.
I'm pretty excited about that.
Who is building this technology for you? So, for example, earlier in CES, Walmart brought in 2 generative AI tools, a customer-facing one and an internal tool, My Assistant. The internal tool basically to improve efficiency of staff. But the underpinnings of it were the Azure OpenAI service, taking advantage of existing large language models from OpenAI. Which approach is Nasdaq taking?
Yeah, so we are not creating our own LLM. So we are going to be leveraging the LLMs, the large language models that exist, and we are partnering with both AWS and Microsoft in that regard. So, and so we have the opportunity, because AWS is a little bit more open source. We're in our first product within our anti-financial crime suite, using Gen AI, we're using the Claude model from Anthropic.
Okay.
But then in other opportunities that we're looking at, in terms of, let's say, the coding copilot capabilities for on the business, like how do we bring and make our developers a lot more efficient? We're more likely to use the GitHub Copilot from Microsoft.
Were you
right?
cautious about that internally? You know, we are 15 months since ChatGPT's release, and you are doing this work now. Did you dive into it, or did you take?
Well, we dove into it in some ways. So the first thing we did was create a governance model inside of Nasdaq.
A codified, rules-based approach.
We did. And so we have a team, a governance team, that meets every week. And so if you want to use the technology, you come and ask permission.
Okay.
And
who says yes or no?
So it's a combination of our technology team, our legal team, and our risk management team. And so they will look at it and say, well, how do you want to use it? How are you going to use the data? What data are you going to use? Making sure that there's no IP leakage, data leakage, and also making sure that we also vet the models so that we kind of help them determine which models are most relevant. And we have a team, an emerging technology team within Nasdaq, and their entire job is to work with the models, to work with the large tech companies, and to vet all these different opportunities within Nasdaq. So that's the first thing we did. We then worked very quickly on, for instance, with the anti-fin crime suite, we actually tested out different models to decide which one was most relevant for our use case. And we found Claude was very effective. We are giving it a very defined set of data that they can draw from, and they understand exactly what kind of information that they are going out to try to find, so that it kind of controls the model very, very precisely. And what it does is it turns a workflow that normally takes between 30 minutes and an hour, and basically solves it in 3 minutes. So that, if you think about it, what we're trying to do is you can go and investigate a potential bad actor in 3 minutes instead of an hour. That is thousands and thousands of people suddenly becoming a lot more productive.
And the net result, I guess, is that you can be across a greater volume of threats, or?
Well, the first thing we do is try to, with the Bayesian models within our AI capabilities, we try to bring down the number of false positives and find more fraud or find more money laundering, like find real crime. And that is highly effective. We do that for the largest banks. We do that for every bank that we serve. And it's really, really exciting how we're able to use that technology. But the second thing is then you say, okay, here's an alert. We think this could be criminal. You then have to investigate it. And that becomes a very human experience. So how can we use the large language models to collect all the information and distill it down and write a summary automatically about that potential bad actor? And hopefully make it so that they can even bring down even more the false positives and kind of get to the real criminal behavior even faster and process that regulatory report a lot faster. So it gets it to the law enforcement agencies faster too.
There was a lot of reporting about how AI, and not necessarily generative AI tools, but AI would or would not transform financial markets. Just very quickly, do you think that we will see a transformation in 2024, or do you think that financial market participants, be they capital deployers, asset managers, investment firms, the exchanges, are still experimenting?
I think that there is still going to be a lot of experimentation in 2024. I think that there will be certain elements of this technology that go into what I call prime time or into production. I think particularly around what I'm talking about, risk management, risk mitigation, crime mitigation, the things that I think are the biggest problems that the banks and the brokerages have and that the financial system has. How does this really help solve those problems? But then you've got the opportunity side. I think on the opportunity side, I think that there's going to be a lot of experimentation this year. I think some firms will invest very heavily in leveraging these large language models to try to understand what market opportunities there might be out there. And then I also think that there's going to be a regulatory overlay that starts to come in that helps kind of create the guideposts.
From financial market regulators specifically?
I think so, yeah. You're seeing both the SEC and CFTC saying, let's figure out what the regulatory regime should be around
And you'd
this.
welcome that, I assume.
I think it's very important to have smart regulation. So it's going to be a really interesting, and I would also say purpose-driven regulation. So the concern I have is this broad-based regulation that might really make it so that firms can't actually use AI to root out criminals, because the criminals don't care about the lawmakers or the regulators, right? So you have to be able to take that technology and use it to the best of its ability. In the markets themselves, though, let's put some guardrails in place. Let's understand how to do it safely. Let's make sure also that we have the mitigants necessary to be able to protect the markets if something were to happen. We have some blunt instruments today, and we'll continue. We have circuit breakers. We have ways to disconnect members, things like that. But we also want to make sure that we have new technologies also to be able to be predictive around that as well.
Adena Friedman, given that it's just you and I here and a few thousand people in the room and tens of thousands listening at home, I wanted to ask how you use AI at home, how you, Adena Friedman, at the office or at home, engage with generative AI tools which you've experimented with.
Yeah, so I don't use it for work yet. I mean, I can, but I don't tend to sit there and call up ChatGPT every time I have a question.
I spend hours doing that every day.
I could see that.
So does everyone else here.
So I think but at home, I use ChatGPT to honestly, sometimes it's fun. I have grown children, so we'll have some fun with it. But then also to kind of, we have a question about, is this true, is this false? Or, if you have an investigative question about something you want to learn more about, it's incredible at how efficient it is in pulling all the information down and giving you a very distinct summary. So I actually really liked using it. But I do think, again, I think you're kind of 2023 is the year of the potential. 2024 is the beginning of the year or the years of execution.
Let's circle back, I hate that expression, CES 2025 and see if you were right. Nasdaq President and CEO, Adena Friedman, really wide-ranging and fantastic conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks very much.